Joining me right now in this exclusive interview, Republican Congressman from Ohio. He is the founding member of the House Freedom Caucus. He's also the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee and serves on the Judiciary Committee as well. Congressman Jim Jordan joining us right now. And Congressman, it's good to see you this morning.
Good to be with you, Maria.
Thanks so much for joining us. Can you give us a status check? Where are we in these talks over border security up against this February 15th deadline?
I don't know that the position today is any different than it was 7 weeks ago. I think the president's right. It is tough to negotiate and get an agreement with people who are more focused on stopping the president than they are on helping the country. I always say, remember 10 years ago, both then Senator Clinton, Senator Obama, both of them said they were for money for border security wall, money for a barrier. And of course, today the Democrats have taken just extreme positions. I mean, we got Congressman Blumenauer from Oregon saying that ICE should be abolished. You got Secretary Clinton when she ran for president just a couple years ago saying we need a borderless hemisphere. You got, as the president said, the Speaker of the House saying walls are immoral. And look who's giving the Democrat response to the State of the Union on Tuesday night. Stacey Abrams, who just 3 weeks ago said she thinks it's okay if non-citizens vote. So when you start with that kind of position, it's tough for the president, tough for Republicans to actually get agreement with the Democrats. So I don't know that, again, we're any different than where we were a few weeks ago. And the president's probably right. He will have to, I think, at some point go with a national emergency to get the border security wall done. So
nothing really has changed. You were among those pushing the president to dig in, look, keep the government closed. Was all of that worth it?
We were pushing the president to do what we told the American people we were going to do, which was secure our southern border and build a border security wall. It doesn't take a genius to figure out, what are we on now, the fifth caravan forming, going to be here any day now in Texas? So it doesn't take anyone with common sense can see we need a border security wall. We need to secure our border. We need to reform our asylum laws if we're going to address the problem. If, as the president says every day, I think, if we're going to deal with the drug problem, if we're going to deal with the human trafficking problem, if we're going to deal with the gang problem. What was it? The bust just this week. Enough fentanyl to kill 57 million Americans?
Yeah.
So this is serious. The president understands it. We were supporting the president and encouraging him to do what he said and to do what we told the voters we were going to do in 2016 when they elected us.
Well, we've talked about the fact that Nancy Pelosi has a wall in her own state many times on this program. So it's a head scratcher how she could call a wall immoral, knowing that she has this wall in separating Tijuana from San Diego in her own state. Do you think the president will call for a national emergency during the State of the Union on Tuesday night? Should he do that?
I don't know if he will then. I do think, as he said just the other day, he is seriously considering that. I think we may be to the point where he has to do that, but that'll be the president's call. What I know is the president is committed to securing the southern border, committed to building a border security wall. That's what he told the American people he was going to do. That's why they elected him, and he's committed to getting that job done.
So we understand from senior administration officials that there are 5 areas that the president is going to touch upon in Tuesday's State of the Union: a safe and legal immigration system. Number 2, protecting American workers on trade deals, including China and NAFTA. Number 3, rebuilding America with respect to infrastructure. 4, lowering costs for health care and prescription drugs. And number 5, protecting national security. Now, the president has talked recently about the fact that a wall is already being built. More than 100 miles has already been built. Where is that money coming from, Congressman? Is there money in government that he can use to begin this build-out?
Yeah, there's some in the Homeland Security budget that he can use right now. And the law allows him to do fencing and to secure the border, particularly when there's a drug problem. Obviously, there is, based on what just happened this past a few days ago, this past week, when there was a drug bust of enough fentanyl to kill 57 million Americans. So, yeah, the president can do that. He is doing that as we speak. I think going to do more of that. But to get the full border security wall done, you either need an appropriation from the legislature, appropriation from Congress, or you need the president to declare the national emergency and do it there.
Yeah, so I believe the president said that he's expecting 115 miles to be completed in the near-term future. So you're saying part of the money for that is coming from confiscation of drug money?
Well, it's in the Homeland Security budget, and it's money that hasn't been appropriated. Constitutionally, Congress has to appropriate dollars, but money that's there that hasn't been actually spent and appropriated, the president can use that to construct border security fencing under current law. To build the border security wall, he would need to declare an emergency, or Congress would need to pass language which says we appropriate these dollars for a border security wall, and that's been the hang-up. Democrats won't negotiate with us, even though They said just a few weeks ago, you open up the government, Mr. President, we'll negotiate then. The president says, okay, I'll give you one last chance. He opens up the government, and the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi say, oh, nope, we're not for a wall.
Well, that must be why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is out saying cut funding for the Department of Homeland Security, because she must know that there's money there that the president can use for this. How much money are we talking about?
I believe there's $500 million that's there that he can use now. Without any appropriation, any act from Congress under current law, he can do that.
Okay, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is calling to cut funding for DHS. You know that.
Again, I think it underscores the radical position today's left has taken. Abolish ICE, cut funding, walls are immoral. We said this, if walls are immoral, Speaker Pelosi, where's the legislation that you've introduced to take down the wall between Tijuana and San Diego? I don't see legislation from Democrats to do that. So it must work there, but oh no, it can't happen anywhere else. And then, as I said, the Democrat response to the State of the Union is the gubernatorial candidate from Georgia who said just a few weeks ago that she thinks it's okay if non-citizens vote. That shows the radical position, and still the president's trying to negotiate and get this done for the American people. But unfortunately, it's difficult when they start from that position.
Congressman, I want to switch gears and ask you about the Mueller probe, ask you about what you're doing on the Oversight Committee. Of course, we know that Adam Schiff has a different set of priorities than you do. So let's talk about, let's slip in a quick break, Congressman, and then talk a bit about that.